Okay, so welcome back. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to head and probably edit the breakout between the previous part and this part. This will be the second video in the bit. We're going to pick up where we left off. We just went ahead and got into chapter 2 of the story here, which is where the war properly starts. So with volunteers being called up on both sides, one of the things that has happened very early on here is that Virginia has voted to secede, and in doing so ends up becoming the, I think it's making Richmond here, the Confederate capital, which puts the Confederate and Union capitals incredibly close together. That historically ends up leading to a lot of fighting here in the east, as critical objectives for both sides are within spitting distance of each other. That leads historically to the First Battle of the Bull Run, where the Union loses. That leads to the Peninsular Campaign, where forces under one of the Union generals attempts to attack Richmond, coming up the peninsula here before it's retreating. And that leads to various battles here in the east, between some of the largest armies end up here in the east. Kentucky is, in theory, at the beginning here, neutral. It's shown as a Union because the people who end up breaking the neutrality, I believe, are actually the Confederates, historically. On the strategy screen, we may see we have a few more objectives. So in addition to break Confederate morale, which is the overall game objective here, which is to drive Confederate morale below 25, we have capture Richmond. So if we end up capturing Richmond, the Confederates end up losing 20 straight up. Not sure if we can see the Confederate version of that, which is they capture Washington, D.C. I believe we take 20 morale hit as well. At the beginning here, we're going to be, as time goes on, we're going to be taking a ongoing morale loss the longer we go without actually starting a battle. So we need to engage the enemy in a major land battle where we win. Otherwise, we're going to be losing morale until then. When we do that, we gain additional morale, and the commander that does that gets a bit of fame. And to count it as a major battle, we need to have 10,000 troops on both sides, where at least 2,000 dies total across both sides. To maintain a Republican majority, we need to keep above 65 opinion. I think that's the midterms there. So we need to keep the morale of the nation, morale of the Union high enough that we get the Confederate majority in the midterms. Otherwise, we'll start having it steadily decrease due to Democrats in the House and the Senate and whatever. One of our objectives, sort of bonus objectives, is to seize a bunch of Confederate forts. So all the forts that sort of defected to them, if we can go in and take 10 of them back, we'll get a morale bonus. That is before November 61. We're not likely to actually do that, I suspect. That's a bit of a high task. Control Western Virginia. So we can go over and take over Western Virginia, which historically one of the generals ends up doing. We'll get to take some morale off of the Confederates. Again, we win by getting them below 25, right? So we want to take morale off of them, and we want to keep our morale up at the same time. Controlling Mississippi gives us morale. Winning 5 consecutive land battles gives us morale. Naval battles gives us morale as well. Currently, there are 26 loyal states, 15 Confederate states. Currently, we're actually outnumbered. The Confederates outnumber us. On land, though we do outnumber them at sea. And we have a slight military experience advantage. So right now we start off with 4 armies. We start off with the Army of the Northeastern Virginia, the Army of the Department of Pennsylvania, which would have been the military garrison army for Pennsylvania, the Army of the Ohio, which is the military garrison for Ohio, and we have what is the Department of the West, who's the department in charge of the West, which right now is standing off opposed to the Missouri State Guard. So I believe historically, when I think it's the governor of Missouri was on moving into the Missouri capital in an attempt to kind of do what happened in Virginia and other secessionist states and declare succession. He was going to go into the capital. He's going to basically lead a vote for succession. And one of the local Union commanders basically rallies up a posse and puts an end to that, stops that. So the governor goes running off and basically goes and does what he can to rally the Missouri State Militia, rallying all the Confederate personnel in the State Guard. So we see here's the Missouri State Guard attempting to basically retake the Missouri capital so they can declare succession for Missouri. Historically, they don't end up doing that. Partially because the Department of the West here does mobilize enough guys to keep them away from the capital. Doesn't end up winning any battles early on, if my memory is correct. And in fact, one of the major defeats out here in the West is actually what is effectively the Department of the West here, being defeated by the Missouri State Guard that has received reinforcements from the Confederates. But reinforcements and such managed to keep them away from the Missouri State Capitol, so they don't end up getting to do sort of the lawful declaration of succession that some of the other succession states have done. Though there is, for quite a while, ongoing Missouri resistance from elements in the Missouri State Guard and/or Confederates working in the southwest of Missouri. And notably, the group initially that was resisting the Missouri State Guard were German Americans and not versus the sort of English Americans and such that were slavers, whereas the pro-unionist side was actually the German Americans in the area. So there's a bunch of German American volunteers. So as a side effect, I believe both sides get a lot of volunteers from Missouri. That's something we're going to get into when we start to do developing our troops here. And most of our armies, you can see, have we have fog of war on, so we won't necessarily be able to see all the opposition forces. But we can see opposite. Most of our armies have a mirroring Confederate army. Northeastern Virginia here has the Department of the Potomac. Department of Pennsylvania has the Army of Shenandoah. There is the Army of the Northwest, which is pretty small up here, opposite of the Department of the Ohio. In fact, actually, we're seeing the Confederates. One of the drawbacks the Confederates have is they're actually more spread out. Oh, I suppose the fort down here at Pickens Garrison has actually not fallen. We still have Pickens Garrison. And there's a Western Army. I think this is the army that links up with the Missouri State Guard to fight off the Department of the West. So probably early on, I'm not going to do too much with the Navy. I might go ahead and take the home squadron and push them down here. And otherwise, we're going to go ahead and improve our existing armies. So this is, let's hop into the Army of Northeastern Virginia. We're going to go ahead and make a couple new groups on here. One of them I'm going to go ahead and give all the artillery to. I'm going to basically make an artillery group. Unify the artillery all under one command. And then Palmer here has the cavalry in the army. We're going to go ahead and put the cavalry under its own group. And then we're going to go ahead and add some more infantry and another unit of cavalry. So Maryland, because it's reasonably close by, we're going to go ahead and recruit the cavalry from. We've got 2,500 volunteers from there. The cavalry isn't going to be too big, so we should be able to recruit that from there pretty easily. And there's a couple different sizes of cavalry. We'll go... what's the size of the existing cavalry that we've already got? We've got a little over 250 coming out of New York. Sharp's carbine here. We'll go ahead and give them another 250 from Maryland. Give them some backup. And then most of these units look to be actually a bit small. I'm guessing like the 1st Brigade here is only 800, 900 men. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll bring up 2 more brigades. We might bring these from New Jersey. No, we'll bring 1 brigade from New Jersey. 1 brigade of infantry from New Jersey, and maybe we'll do the other one from Maryland as well. So that'll be the Army of Northeastern Virginia. That should probably be enough for us to win the early battles. And then for each of these brigades, I'm going to have one have the new Springfield musket rifles, or rifle muskets, instead of the muskets, standard Springfield muskets. That way we've got one guy who's got decent range, and then the rest will have the slightly heavier firepower of the musket. The musket, I believe, is using a slightly higher caliber round, whereas the rifling on it, on the rifling for the rifled version of it, actually lowers the caliber a little bit. It doesn't make a big difference. Really, it's sort of a range versus firepower issue. And for a lot of these early battles, it's probably not going to make a big difference. Partially because I think in these early battles, we're going to out-quality the Confederates. Because we're going to be rocking up with everyone having some sort of Springfield. Sharp's carbine, and we don't want mixed cavalry, we want something that's a proper carbine. And it's a balance between range and rate of fire. We do have some of those whole carbines from the whole thing. Those actually have decent range. We wanted a high-ranged one. I think we will go with a high-ranged one. Fine. A little bit slow rate of fire, but that's probably fine for the moment for the Army of Northeastern Virginia. So there is basically the formation for the Northeastern Virginian Army. We are still in the 3-month period, so they're only going to be around for 3 months before we're going to have to rebuild the army. Army of the West also probably wants to get upgraded. We know it is standing face-to-face with some semi-serious opposition. In this case, in the form of 1 field army. If anything, I'm probably going to overbuild it, and we're probably not going to end up facing... We're going to have a hard time trying to chase down the enemy we're facing. We do see it's opposed to the Missouri State Guard. In theory, it's about parity with the Missouri State Guard. Both sides are going to be upgrading themselves here. So we, of course, have a bunch of volunteers from Missouri. We'll go ahead and give the already raised volunteers the Springfield musket rifles. Oh no, they already got the rifle muskets, so that's why I'm not finding them. And then we'll raise a few more units from Missouri, which... Or we'll raise another unit from Missouri, so we'll raise... Actually, no, Missouri's got... Well, small-ish pool, so we'll actually hold off. We'll do the cannon. This is the Department of the West, yeah. Mississippi. Yeah, we're getting no volunteers in Mississippi. Missouri, we're gonna give, Missouri's gonna form up the cavalry for, Missouri group. And of course we need some infantry. Michigan's reasonably close by. Bring up a group of infantry from Michigan. And let me... Illinois. It's Illinois, Wisconsin are all places we can get decently close reinforcements from. Oh, we can get a decent force from Illinois. Okay. We'll grab 2 more batches of Illinoisan rifle. What are we getting from? What can we get from Wisconsin? We can get 2 batches of rifle from Wisconsin as well. And I should probably give this group a group of cannons as well. Won't give it as much as the Army of the East, Northeast Virginia, but we'll give them a couple. These can probably come from Missouri as well. We'll make Missouri the specialists in this army. And of course we want to greet these guys with some decent equipment. And I'm still going to follow the pattern of 1 thing of rifle muskets, 2 things of muskets, Springfield muskets. And we have a decent number of Springfield muskets, even though we're not able to make them yet. I'm not actually sure we're ever able to make the Springfield muskets, to be fair. They're sort of the obsolete stock that the rifled musket is a derivative of. We'll do 1 of the whole carbines for the cavalry, and we'll do a more rapid-fire one as the old. What's our highest rate of fire? Maillard or Colt revolving rifle. We'll do the Maillard. Army. Here we go. And then the cannons. I'm just gonna press the upgrade button on the cannons, give them the best cannons that, at least what the game thinks is the best cannons. And then it'll be our Department of the West once that forms up. And then we've got 2 more armies. We have the Department of the Ohio under George B. McClellan. And we have the Department of Pennsylvania under Robert Patterson. We need to go ahead and improve. Let's see, the opposition army in the Shenandoah. Currently at 22,000. It's currently mobilizing up to 17,000. So we should mobilize up as well to deal with the fact it's mobilizing up. I think go ahead and basically make this a duplicate of the Army of the Northeast. So that means we need another infantry 1. This one will be coming from farther afield, is probably how I'll do it. So we'll probably make this bringing from Kentucky and New York sort of area. or not Kentucky, Connecticut and New York. Connecticut we'll probably bring in as cavalry. Oh, we already got guys from Pennsylvania, so I think we'll go ahead and grab a couple more guys from Pennsylvania as well. Pennsylvania's pretty close. After all, this is the Department of the Pennsylvania that we're recruiting guys for, so... New York is, at this point, a pretty populous state, so we get quite a few volunteers from New York. We'll bring in Connecticut cavalry to do the reconnaissance. You could technically have the Connecticut cavalry, or you could have the cavalry as a independent attachment to the sort of Supreme Combat HQ here instead of doing a division. I'm doing a separate division just because I tend to move my cavalry around as a group doing the early reconnaissance. And we'll do some artillery as well. Taking some artillery from Delaware. Let all the states help out a little bit. Not all of them are going to be able to provide large contingents, so we'll give them some of those smaller duties. Maine. Sure, we can bring a group of artillery from Maine. We do have some volunteers from Rhode Island. It's not even enough to bring up an artillery unit. Don't think it's enough for an artillery unit. Oh no, we got enough for an artillery unit, so we bring up an artillery from Rhode Island. And we'll go through following the same sort of things. We've already got a rifle musket there, we've got a musket. So you'll get the rifled one. And then you'll get regular musket. Then the cav, I think again we'll do a balance between ranged hull carbine and rate of fire with the Colt revolver. And on the artillery, we'll just go ahead and say, hey, give me the best artillery for the unit out of our existing stock. We're kind of working in what I consider my order of priority down from highest to lowest, so the artillery is going to get what's left over at the end as we move through. So this is sort of the highest priority army. This is the one I'm kind of hoping is going to get the major victory for us here at the beginning. The Department of the West is kind of the other one that might be a major victory. We'll see if we can actually pin the Missouri State Guard down. Department of Pennsylvania is going to either try to screen off the army in the Shenandoah or, well, start pushing down through the territory and into the Shenandoah. Both to help sort of screen the flank of the army of the northwestern or northeastern Virginia, but also to help let the army that we haven't worked on, which is the Department of the Ohio, who's going to be responsible for taking over the locations in West Virginia. So we're going to run them over probably to Wheeling, Virginia, then down to Grafton, so on and so forth. Try and take over Virginia with the Department of the Ohio here. So let's go and have the Department of Ohio some army. Also starting up with just a few brigades of, well, one from Indiana, one from West Virginia, interestingly enough. These are just the brigades, so we'll go ahead and detach these to a command. We'll make another command, and to this command we'll go ahead and start rallying some men of Ohio as infantry. the Ohioan ones will probably come together real quickly. Doubt we're gonna get much from West Virginia. We could grab another group from West Virginia. We'll probably do the Cav from West Virginia. So I'm trying to remember where my states are. I know my western states better than I know my eastern states. We haven't grabbed much from Michigan. Could grab from Indiana pretty easily. And then we've gotten a lot of recruits from Massachusetts. Twitch is chiming in with yes, more cannon fodder. Hopefully we're the guys making the other guy do the cannon fodder, to be fair, is the Union here. I'm never doing it from Indiana. Wisconsin. Okay, Wisconsin isn't going to be able to provide much more. Might grab some Cav from Wisconsin. We haven't grabbed any... trying to think about the big state volunteers. We'll grab some New York, New Jersey. It looks like Massachusetts is the biggest state we haven't pulled from yet. Okay, let's get some riflemen from Massachusetts. Maybe more from Illinois. Yeah, let's grab another batch from Illinois. And then we need some of the specialists. Well, don't necessarily need the specialist cannon and Cav for what we're going to do, but we're going to grab some. So West Virginia we'll grab... Well, actually, let's grab our artillery from West Virginia here. Artillery is fairly small, so West Virginia can support the cannon here. And then the Cav, again, another fairly small one. Or at least the early game Cav is pretty small. The late game stuff is less so. We haven't grabbed it from Vermont, so we'll grab a cavalry unit from Vermont and a cav unit from Wisconsin. Okay. And then again, we'll still follow the same sort of thing. Springfield, musket, and a Springfield rifle. Some of this is, in the long run, Springfield rifle musket is going to end up our sort of default go-to for all the infantry. Early war here, we're going to be limited in how many of them we have, so we need to sort of ration them out. On the other hand, we're, as the Union, probably got more medium quality guns than the Confederates do. So we got to ration out the high quality sort of ranged ones, but the medium quality sort of muskets we've got a decent quantity of. So we shouldn't have to deploy anyone with mixed muskets. We can make sure everyone's got a proper gun. Maybe not the best of guns, but a proper gun. And then again, we'll do whole carbine for the range, and something with a rate of fire. We'll do Mared carbine here. Sorry, rate of fire. So that'll be our starting army. That's going to take almost it's going to take a month for them to all show up, and probably another month for them to be ready to move out. We do have gone ahead and ordered the home squadron here to come down to the bay area down here, and we can do a little bit blockading down here. Okay, that'll actually move some speed. Civil wars officially begun. Further and southern states secede. Confederate armies on the move. Europeans reluctant to take sides. Also got some new campaign objectives. Port at destination. Okay, so our ships that way I moved out. Previously they were blocking the path up to Fort Washington. I've just moved it down to hold our fort down here. Or, well, the fort has already fallen to the Confederates, but we can go ahead and move up and interfere with it. I believe this fort's currently building? At least it was in the last run I was running. See the Army of the Shenandoah moving there. I suppose we can look in here and see how long it's going to take for the units to show up in some cases. So 13 days for you, 14 days for you. So you'll be all shown up in 16 or so days. Be a little bit longer after that before they're actually ready to go. Our other fleet has arrived at their destination. So we'll give this fleet the order. A stance. Defensive. You've arrived. Pretty sure I'll be able to blockade these guys. It's that button. Maybe I'm not close enough to port to set the movement time. We'll move it a little bit in. Just in case I'm not in the appropriate blockading space. Religious unrest in the U.S. continues. Factory workers feuding. Animosity between national armies. Yeah. Well, I'm interdicting some ports at least. Because that's what the fire here is indicating. Waiting for the unit to form up. Still got guys showing up, otherwise pretty untrained. I think of the starting commanders, while McClellan over here is not necessarily known for doing the best work in the Peninsula campaign. I think he's actually the best of the army trainers, the existing army commanders. So his will probably end up the most trained of the four armies here before it actually sees combat. And the ones out here in the west are probably going to take a little longer to get supplied. So obviously, as we're raising the troops, our expenses have gone up. So we've gone ahead and issued some bonds to afford deployment. troop deployment. We're outnumbered. Based on what I can see, we're recruiting faster than them, which is good. Military policy enacted, so that's the Confederates doing military policy 1, I believe. So that probably means we're about to finish our second policy. Yeah, 1.1 days. Alright, there's our funding policy 1. We don't want our next wave of units forming up to be 3-month units, so we're going to do Militia Act 2, so we can have them be 12 months units, so at least hang around for a year. That will have also gone ahead and upped, won't kick in right away, but much like we've got military up, and instead of 5 mil up to 12.5, that's going to do the same for the economy by default. We could turn that back down if we need to. And we can see where we're getting our supplies from on the map when we click on the units, I suppose. So the Army of Pennsylvania is small enough it's getting its stuff mostly locally. Granted, all our units are expanding, so they're probably going to have to grab stuff from farther and farther away as they get bigger. Oh, and we've got another project we can invest in. Question is, do I want to invest in it? So, we can suppress population. We don't really occupy anywhere right now, so that doesn't really make much sense. We could do administrative reform, which is what I might end up doing. And I can do a couple of reforms over here. I think we're going to go ahead and grab, or save up 4, which is why we're not going to grab the artillery reform, the cavalry reform right now. The legacy rifles here. Yeah, I think we'll do administrative reform. Administrative reform is a repeatable. It gets more expensive every time you do it. But right now that just means we can expand or apply our policies 5% faster. So in theory, we're just running about base speed because we have a malice, and that offsets most of the malice. Okay, so all the units in the Army of the Northeastern Virginia have arrived, so we're just waiting for their readiness to get ready. So they're organizing. And, okay, there's the event for the U.S. Army abandoning Indian Territory, which, of course, means the Confederates quickly walk in and take control of it. Little tribes on the run. To be fair, most of the tribes are actually end up favoring the Confederacy, historically. For various reasons. One of those is that the Confederates do manage to win the sort of propaganda war of convincing the Indians that they'll be nicer to them, even though arguably it's the Confederate side of the U.S. Union government that did the Indian relocation stuff. But they're able to frame it off as that was the Union government and not the new Confederate government. When it's probably the Confederate government really component that ends up with the Trail of Tears and stuff like that being done. So there is some of our weapons being delivered. There's our 12-pounders being delivered. So we'll go ahead and queue up some more 12-pounders to be shipped. Oh, and our 24-pounders apparently arrived as well. We went for about 100 days before. I'm actually going to take them in a little bit faster. We'll drop, it's taken on the order of 8. So they show up in 73 instead. and 67 there. And then we're still waiting for the Springfield muskets. Which are to show up. Next batch are showing up in 85 days, yeah. Oh, I think we're a little bit lucky here. I picked these places that are a little bit closer to the Army of Northwest Virginia, so they're actually getting ready pretty quickly. Yeah, whether or not we can find a large enough group of Confederates to fight is a different problem. Or a major victory. Enemy is apparently blockading us. Ah, I see. So the North Carolina squadron is going running off over there. Let's go and grab the home squadron to go chase them off. So for their third policy, they went ahead and issued the letters of marque. We could end up retaliating if we wanted to. Basically issuing letters of marque the other way around. One thing we should be paying attention to is that we don't want an intervention. So we don't want it to favor... Don't want to piss off the Europeans too much or vice versa. We don't want... well, we're not too interested in getting the intervention, but the Confederates may be. So letter of marque has pissed them off. Right, so King Cotton makes them like him. Letters of marque piss them off. Sort of a slight balancing act. We don't want to get too far one way or the other. Not yet at Legacy Muskets. We've got 1.3 out of the 1.5 million for that. And we have the James River Squadron here is bombarding one of our dockyards. We've only got 2 of 8 ships here. Let's withdraw to a port and get some more ships. Turn to port. Is that really the port you're thinking? No, don't go to that port. Not that port. Go to a port like up here. Oh, so the James River Squadron, after shooting a port a bit, has gone sailing off. It's the Atlantic Blockading Squadron. We'll probably let the Atlantic Blockading Squadron take over for the fleet that we had blockading before. Send them down. Okay, now they're reasonably close to port. If I say go to port, should return to a reasonable port. There we go. So I'm actually going to go ahead and manage this fleet. We do have ships in harbor. We'll go ahead and build up the flying flotilla here. With some of the highest repaired ships that we've still got sitting around and not assigned to a fleet. Building up to that, like 6. In some cases, it's going to take them a couple days to arrive. And these are all steam and river ships. Maybe not the ones that we want to use, really, but... yeah, we probably want to just do C1s. We can some of those river ships back. Yeah, some of these ships are sea and river. We'll take the Resolute. Send the Resolute back. So we've got a couple steam slops and a couple frigates and stuff. Okay, so once this fleet's set up, we'll send it back on a go. We're not building new ships yet. And honestly, the ports are half full with ships that we already have doing repairs, so... Royal Navy vowed to avoid naval American ports. So the Royal Navy staying on the sidelines watching. And we are seeing the readiness of our troops rise up. These guys have risen to mediocre readiness. We'd like them to be in the green before they start going off to cause mayhem to the Confederates. And yeah, we can see that the much larger army here is now pulling supplies from quite a distance away. There's our 12-month contracts. We're almost there with the Legacy Rifles. We're 1.4 mil. I could push for the 24-month contracts. I think we'll be happy with the 12-month for the next recruitment cycle. And then I might push into having government funding 2 here. And maybe install an income tax or something. Yeah, let's get that going. Okay, let's see. Did we get that? Legacy Rifles? Yeah, no, we're still at 1.4. We're so close. Yet not there yet. We'll see at the beginning of next month if we can do that. We should probably be in the beginning of next month, maybe actually able to start a fight. Oh, we got shut up by the ships going by. That's why it's being repaired. Okay. So we have a naval battle. Home Squadron versus the Confederate things. We just got a naval victory. Enemy ship sunk. The Battle of Block Island Sound has ended with the North Carolina Squadron retreating. The engagement was a complete victory with the enemy thoroughly whipped. 1 ship has been sunk, 2 ships captured. The condition of the enemy fleet is believed to be alarming. The condition of my fleet is intact. So, given the fact that we just fought in a naval battle, let's go ahead and send this fleet back to port. Or to reacquire fuel and provisions. It was getting a little low on provisions sitting out on station for quite a while. And then we will manage this fleet. Yes, that's what I was expecting. So the captured ships, I think, got added to the fleet. I think that's what some of these gunboats here are. Let's go ahead and move these to harbor because they're pretty beat up. The rest of it, once the provisions are resettled, will be sent out. And the blockade efficiency is going to start to go away as they're not being blockaded anymore. Okay, we can go ahead and pick up our legacy rifles, which I believe has given us the ability to requisition some more rifles. Orders, yes. So we've been added Mississippi rifle and the Plains rifle. These are both compare them to 3 shots a minute, 400 tards. The Plains rifle is got the same range, but it's an inferior rate of fire. Both of them got inferior rate of fires. The Mississippi rifle apparently has a little bit more range, but we will go ahead and order some of both, just to bulk out our armament loadout. Even though both of these, from our perspective, are considered obsolete in some ways because we can get a higher rate of fire with the Springfields. And I think the Springfields will also be cheaper in the long run. Yeah, the Springfield rifle musket is also cheaper than both the Plains rifle and the Mississippi rifle, and has a higher rate of fire. Blockaded? No, those blockades look lifted. Oh, you've arrived at your destination, and by being there blockading it looks like it's blockading most of the ports. For whatever reason, it's not blockading that one, but it's fine. Okay. That works. We just saw it sail across the isthmus there. That's not how boats work, but... 4 ships, 3 disabled. I'm a little bit tempted to try to start something. Glorious victory at Chesapeake Bay, and the North Carolina squadron retreating. The engagement was a remarkable strategic victory. The enemy steaming to safety from their harbors. There's an enemy fleet is barely afloat. What do you mean your fleet is barely afloat? What happened? All enemy ships escaped. Glorious victory where your fleet got rickety wrecked. What? How did you screw that up? Okay, well, you took the port, basically, so I'm going to ship you up to the port up here, and we'll do some repairs, apparently, because you're rickety wrecked. How's the provisions going on this fleet? Okay, the provisions are restocked, so let's ship you back out to the blockading. Okay, let's return to port. Condition alarming. That alarms me, you see. Yeah, most of those ships have seen better days. Okay. We'll go in and assign them to the shipyard for repairs. And then this fleet, this one's ready to go out again as well. Okay. The flying flotilla out and about again. Oh, we've got another policy we can go ahead and play. It's the project. Corn is king. I think we want to actually hold off and do farm mechanization instead there. So corn is king is the diplomacy of agriculture. Both sides have a diplomacy of agriculture. We're not too worried. As long as it's about neutral, we're not going to worry too much. So about 20-30% is not an issue. Not going to quite wait for full readiness, but we want it to at least be well in the green. Okay, why are you guys... Let me set you to blockade. Yeah. Now we can get this guy set to blockade. So that should be blockading these ports now. Yeah. Oh, maybe not the ones... Maybe it's got a distance effect, okay. Okay, you're probably ready enough. Let's do a quick cycle on the army and see how they all are. Okay, so you're the only one ready to go, but some of the other ones are getting pretty close. Okay, let's order the advance. Moving out as the day begins on June the 1st, looking for the enemy. It looks like we are able to find the Army of the Potomac, and we have a battle. So this is going to be our first battle of the campaign. Looking at the time, this is probably where we're going to go ahead and put a part break in for YouTube. So I suppose the next video for you on YouTube will be the battle, unless you decide to skip the battle. In future battles, if they end up being in the middle of a recording, we'll go break away, have a different video for the battle, and come back. But the main campaign map bits will still be probably 30 to 40 minutes. Well, I'm saying 30 to 40 minutes. I've been running these ones a bit long. They've been closer to an hour. Probably try to keep the later ones a little shorter. But here we're going to go into the battle of, well, the game's calling the Battle of Manassas Junction. I suppose that might also be called the Battle of Bull Run, is around this sort of area. But yeah, we'll be going into this battle. I suspect this is a battle we're going to win because we outnumber them 3-1. Yeah. Yeah, the Army of the Potomac is going to have a little bit of a problem. We'll see how ready our men are post-battle. But we're going into a battle. This won't be a major battle, this will be a minor battle, just because the Confederates have not brought enough troops to this battle. So yeah, if you're watching YouTube, they'll be put up tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to go ahead and mute the mic shortly to, well, give myself time when I'm coming back to do the editing to have a nice edit break, but also to give myself a little bit of a sip of tea before we get loading into the battle. So until the next part, wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part, which if you're on Twitch will be in a moment. And with that, bye for now.